If you don't want everything from your car taken, then you better watch this video. Sorry, that probably sounds really bad and it's cold in here today. What I mean is this video will help your car not get broken into. Maybe we'll start this again. Welcome to Browney's Garage. Today we'll be working on changing the door lock actuator on one of the doors on my BA XR6 Falcon. I highly recommend that if you have a car with central locking, that you check yours as well. It's pretty common to go on these Falcons and it just leaves you open to the dumbest criminals in the world. Your car door will be wide open without you even knowing quite often. Luckily the test for it is super simple. Just get your central locking remote, click the lock button like you normally would when you're walking away from the car, and then wander around and check the doors, make sure that in fact they are locked. Just check them as you go around, and if you're like me, then you might be stuck with one that isn't locking. Good chance that's a locking actuator, as it normally is on these Falcons. Thankfully it's a simple fix and it's dead cheap. We'll run through how you do it. Let's move over to the bench. Maybe we'll pick up the tools we need and I'll show you the parts and where to get those. So here's everything you'll need for the job. Pretty simple tools. These are trim removal tools. Please use these when you're digging behind any plastic trim or anything like that. Instead of a flathead screwdriver, it'll stop gouging that plastic. They're dead cheap at Super Cheap or something like that. So pick up a set of those if you haven't got them. You'll need a Torx bit. This is a T30 Torx bit. Probably can't see that, but that's what it is there. And just a ratchet or something to use that. I'll show you, you'll see later where we need that. Phillips head screwdriver. We might need a flathead as well. I'm just going to cheat at stages as well and use my drill just with the Phillips head bit just to speed it up a bit. You'll need some silicone spray or some grease, and you'll also need, this is a little kit. I think they're easiest to get from eBay. This is your little kit for the Falcon. So it's got a little motor in there, the gears and springs and all the bits and pieces you need to replace. This is enough to replace one door. These are about $10 on eBay. If you're picking one up, they are a lot cheaper in multiples. If one goes, it's not a guarantee, but maybe just by aging, you might be up for one or two in the future. If you're going to keep the car a while, might be worth grabbing a set of 2 or even 4. They're pretty cheap. Alright, let's get started and see how we go. Okay, so this is the side I'll be working on. It is a rear door, but they're much the same as the front, so you can use this for the front as well. You will need to get the door card off to get to the actuator. It's nice and easy. Use your trim removal tool, pop off this trim here, just work it under the edges and pop that off. There's also a small trim cap on the screw in the handle. You'll see a little groove to put your trim removal tool in and pop that one out. Once those are off, we can start unscrewing parts. There'll be 2, I believe, inside this trim. Just little Phillips head screws. Undo those, that stays there. The door handle just has one in behind that cap I mentioned. Do that, then you can take that door handle off. It's got a little rod or cable. Just slide it out the groove. I'll try and show you as I go how to do that. And there's also a couple of screws on the trim. So there's 2 at the top corners, 2 at the bottom corners. Once you've done that, this handle's off, you're ready to take the trim off. Be careful that you don't break any of the clips. There are clips the whole way around this door card. Just pop them off in sections and you shouldn't break any. Last thing, you will have the electrical connector still there for your power windows if you've got power windows. So when you pop the door card off, it will be a little awkward, but you should be able to disconnect that and then you'll be able to take the whole door card off. Alright, I'll get to work and try and keep my head out of the way. Okay, now that we've got the door card off, we can actually work at getting that actuator out. It's in behind here. So we need to disconnect everything from it. There's one wiring loom that runs up to it. It's in behind here. You'll just need to squeeze this and push it through, and then you'll be able to disconnect that wiring at the back, so you can take that out with it. There's also one, not cable, it's a metal rod that you unclip from the door handle. If you're doing the driver's door, I believe it'll have two, an extra one for that external keyhole. They're simple enough. I'll try and show you when I do it how to get those off. This one for the back, you'll see the plastic. You just push the plastic off the rod and then pull the rod out on the door handle side of things. Then we've got these. This is where your Torx bit comes into play. 3 Torx bits. Undo those, and we should be able to wiggle that actuator out of there and work on it on the bench. I'm going to go and do that now. And while I remember, leave that last one in a little bit until you can get your hand in to support it, because that actuator will or could drop. This is all that's holding it in now, hopefully. Last one out. Just work it out. Let that door cable come with it. There we go. It's free. Let's go over to the bench. So here's the door lock assembly, and your actuator's in here. There's a closer look at what we're working with. There's 4 screws in each corner that we need to take off to finally get into that actuator. I'll quickly take those screws out. And there you go, you've got your door lock actuator assembly there. You can see the little motor, the gears and bits and pieces there. Sometimes these fail because that motor fails. Sometimes I've seen this shaft cracked and that'll stop the lock from working. They come, well, most of them come with the motor and all the gears and everything, so better just to replace them all rather than have that fatigued and no good anymore. I believe in this one it's the motor. That shaft seems fine. So just remember, when you're taking this shaft and cog assembly out, try and keep them together, because you want to use them as a reference to how to put the new one together. I'll just go about popping it out. It's also a little bit difficult when you do reassemble it to get these springs seated where they need to be. Just take note of where they should be on the ends here. Alright, I'll keep pulling it apart. Okay, it's the old stuff out. Time to assemble the new. Start with the little motor. That's easy enough to get in there. Pop your wiring back on. The little tabs just push in there. Just be careful not to bend them. Okay, that one's done. That can go in the bin. Now to assembling this. Okay, so spring, spacer, your little gear driven guy, pop that on, spacer again, or spring seat I guess it is, and then your other spring seat. You can see why that's quite hard to get to sit in there. There is quite a bit of tension on these new springs, so let's see how we go. This is where the flathead screwdriver might come into play. And that's it. It's back together with the new unit after more tries than I'd like to admit. I think the trick is to get this end in first, and you want to have tension on this spring pushing it away from this end so that you can get it seated up against the black plastic there. And then you'll pop in this end, but you'll also have to have this facing out as it is there. So it's a bit of a juggling act. You'll get there. Don't get too upset with it and force it in there, or you'll break stuff and you'll have to use another kit. Once you're done with that, apply some silicone spray or grease, anything that's suitable for plastic on plastic gears, which I believe silicone's the best for, but I could be wrong. Should be fine. Spray some in there, don't be afraid to get a bit in there, and then there you have it, you're good to go. You can pop that back over, assemble those 4 screws and start putting it back in the car. So our lock actuator is back in the car ready to be tested. Got the 3 Torx bits in here. Don't go overly tight on those, they don't need much force at all. And make sure that will line up with your striker on the door. Should be fine, they're pretty good on these cars, but just keep an eye on it when you're closing it. I've also got the rod attached to the door handle again, so it'll actually lock. And the electrical connectors connected back up and mounted there. Let's close the door, make sure it closes. Looks good. Closes nicely. Alright. And final test, work lock. Much better. There we go, it's sorted. So at least now if those dumb crims want to steal my girlfriend's Hanson CD, they're going to have to work a bit harder. So I'll just finish that up, put that door trim back on. It's pretty simple. And we're done. Hopefully that helps. Thanks for watching, guys. Cheers. You better like, comment and subscribe, or I might not cut you off a slice of this cheesecake. Cheesecake.